Yes, hello tradies, Season 3, Episode 25, brought to you by the great people at St Andrews Beach Brewery, their new brewery at Melbourne Park, the only place to be before a game at the G this season. In fact, a place we might end up at on Thursday, ahead of the blockbuster that is Carlton and Essendon. You can see it on the screens of No, wait.
No, because we've chosen the games that actually mean something this week.
And we reeled him in early. Welcome to you, Mitch.
Hello, Sam. I'm excited for this weekend. Heading up to Brisbane for Hawthorn and the Lions at the Gabba, which will be final shaping. And that's...
Hang on, what about Carlton Essendon?
No, we're choosing we're doing the games that matter.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Because I thought Thursday night footy was big with 7.
It is, when the games matter.
Okay. So next year, if there's a bad game, say round 11, do you just give up on it? Or
No, every game at that point of the year means something.
Okay, so it's only late in the year you'll bail out.
This is a proper dead rubber. Can you imagine the team that Essendon's going to roll out in these next 2 games?
I haven't been able to imagine the team that they've currently been rolling out, in fairness. It's a good game for me to stay at the brewery and not walk across the road.
I wonder how many, because I've been to the brewery a few times and it does empty out once the game starts.
Yeah, well, because it's a 4-minute walk.
I reckon this is a game that you'd properly decide to stay in and just rug up and get involved at the brewery. Now, as you mentioned, got into the car this morning. My car said 2 degrees on the dash. You're rolling with a beanie. I get a lot of messages about your beanies. How many different colours do you own?
I'd have plus or minus 30 beanies, I reckon.
Yeah, right. Do you have a little cupboard for their own little spot?
I do. I actually do.
It does not shock me. Big weekend for yourself. So we haven't really delved into this properly on the show this year, that you're an assistant coach for a team that's won through to the grand final, and you're going to be upping lights in a couple of weeks' time on the grand final stage.
Through to the granny, Old Dabs 3s. Yep. Beat Old Trinity under lights on Saturday.
Under lights.
4:40 at Toorak Park, by the way. I did remind the Old Zavs great Andrew Dillon of the time that we were playing. If the Old Zavs 3s can find a way to play at 4:40 in a final, I reckon we can put the grand final there.
Is Andrew Dillon, because I saw a video of him, I think it might have been one of the Marmalade boys, coaching. Is he involved in the coaching setup, or is he involved coaching at one of the levels?
Oh, he might coach one of his girls' teams,
okay.
Potentially one of his daughter's sides in Paran. I'm guessing. The 7-time Old Zavs premiership player.
Yeah, pretty impressive for the CEO to be able to find that time.
So the last 2 CEOs, Andrew Dillon and Gillan McLaughlin, both amateur A-grade football stars.
As a kid from the country...
Dills would say he was a much better player.
Sort of country. I still can't get my head around this whole VAFA, Amos footy in Melbourne stuff. It's just...
Neither can I.
It just doesn't... My only entry point is Specky McGee on the whole thing, and that's where my mind goes to. School footy into... private schools and, VAFA footy, it just does my head in.
I can understand that. And I was an outsider that came into it, so it still sits a bit uncomfortable with me. Speaking of...
No, hang on. So take us through your role. What does match day look like for Sam McClure?
No, I'm very much just a glorified magnet mover.
I heard you might have made one move on the weekend that set up a pivotal role in the win. Now you're looking all sheepish.
Maybe.
Oh, what was it?
No, we needed to. There was Trinity's best player was a sort of a halfback flanker, sort of like a Wanganeen-Milera type.
Why was he playing 3s?
We needed to tag him. Can I say that the level of footy is pretty remarkable for thirds footy?
Is it a lot of mates, like blokes that could be playing high that want to play with their mates?
I think so, but there's also a lot of depth at clubs like Old Zavs and Scobs and Trinity and that sort of stuff. Anyway, people are probably very bored of me talking about this. Speaking of the footy at the weekend. So on Sunday night, another Old Zav side were playing Ajax. And so Deaver and I walked up on Sunday, because it's around the corner at Toorak Park from my house. And we got stopped at halftime by a few Ajax supporters, big listeners of the pod. Thanks, boys, for stopping us and saying, Naz is going. I was like, what are you talking about?
They had the scoop.
No, and they said, because of the Fox Footy report, which, I had sent to me. And I sort of said to them, well, this...
And for those that didn't catch up with it, what was the report?
The report was, I'm paraphrasing here, that, Adelaide have now emerged as the likely destination for Wanganeen-Milera.
And that was where his mind was thinking.
Yeah. And it was just so interesting, Mitch, that, you tell me, you're on socials, I'm not, but it seemed like so much of the industry over the course of 12 hours became almost an accepted truth that he was going to Adelaide.
Yeah, well, once one thing gets reported, people try to see where they can take it from that point.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was an interesting moment of reflection for me because you and I do a pod every week that literally deals in rumour and innuendo quite a bit.
We've got the Tradies tease coming up later in the show.
Oh, boy. And yet the thirst to be correct with a decision or an outcome has never been higher.
It's the one. It's everyone's chasing every story, but it's a story a lot of people put a lot of time into.
Yep.
So
and then Cal Toomey comes out on Monday and says, he's re-signing for 2 years, which I think you and I had probably been, if we'd had guns to our heads, probably have been leaning to. But there were definitely moments where I thought he might go. So I never felt like it's one of the few trade stories I feel like I hadn't had a proper read on.
Yeah.
But did you feel like that as well?
Yeah. It's funny. So I reckon over the last fortnight, I've had people tell me, take it to the bank, he's going to Port. That's what clubs feel.
Yeah.
Then there's other people sending me social media posts and screenshots of, no, he's leaning more towards the Crows.
Yep.
And then other people saying, no, he'll be sticking with the Saints. He's too loyal to walk out.
Yep.
So what do you like?
Impossible.
You had no way to put meat on the bone. So at that point, all you can talk about is the offers in place, and maybe history suggests that the longer it goes, the more likely he is to leave. But you can't be with any concrete thought around where it was at, and that's why we got to where we got to. So those Ajax boys you spoke about on Sunday night, was that just the accepted thinking that, well, this has been around for the day that
I think so. Yeah, I think people get on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, and once they see enough posts about it, it becomes accepted.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to be at the cutting edge, which you completely understand.
Yeah.
Especially for a club like St Kilda who can't play finals, and so their fans are. It was Christmas Day really on Monday for Saints fans.
It would be the biggest day in St Kilda history since the grand finals.
Yeah, I don't think that's too dramatic. I think that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
So what does it mean, do you think, for Mitch, for the Saints? Because the detractors will come in hard between now and round one and say, okay, well, we've got two players between them, assuming DeConing comes, on $2.7 million.
3.7.
Sorry, 3.7. How's my maths going?
Yeah.
3.7 of what, 18.2 or 3?
Yeah, it's a fair chunk.
It's a fair chunk.
The Saints have been in a situation where they've been able to front-end a lot of contracts. And for example, like signing Max King to the long-term deal that he did, it gives them flexibility to put money and shuffle money into other years.
Yeah.
So you look at next year's list, Rowan Marshall I think is a good chance to go still. Again, not saying with any certainty, and he's got a contract for 2 years left at the Saints, but there is enough people in the industry thinking that his mind will be swayed once DeConing arrives. Jack Steele would have been on a good contract, but that money would have already come off the books in a large way. What I'm saying is those guys being paid what they are next year, there's not a lot of other guys on that Saints list that will be consuming a lot of the cap because the money has already been paid in previous years to get to the minimum of 95% of the salary cap. Saints have been, yes, they made finals a year or two ago, but they've been poor for a while, and they've been able to shuffle money into other years because they haven't been paying any superstars.
And they've also been criticised over the last decade for not being able to attract players.
Yeah.
And so you can't then, once they land one, criticise them for paying too much. Like, it's the price of doing business to a large degree. The thought is that they pay these guys heavy now.
Yeah.
They win enough games to be good enough to attract more players at a lesser rate, and they become a better team and a better club.
Yeah. On the Nas one, though, it is only the flat 2 years. So it's not as if they're putting all their eggs into 2 years and they can drop off money later. If they decide in 2 years' time, when they go back to the market and trying to sign Nas, it's going to cost them more than $2 million a year. It's not like the Max King one where they've got him for 8 years and they can pay him for 1.5 in 1 year, and then the next year he might be getting $500,000. You look at Max King's contract, there's a fair chance to say that if he's on an average of, let's just call it $1 million, he won't be on anywhere near that next year because of the money they're shuffling into these other two guys.
It's a pretty big A, show of faith from Nas, and B, risk to sign for 2 years. When you think about, and we've said this a lot, so many times on this podcast, hundreds of times, the average AFL career is 4.5 seasons, and you only get one shot at your career, and injuries happen, and some can be career ending, some can stay with you for your career. Like, he could have signed a long-term deal at Port, a long-term deal at Adelaide.
Yeah. He's banking on himself.
Yeah, which I love. Like I love the risk. He becomes the first $2 million player in the AFL. It's such a fascinating decision.
Yeah. And unlike, say, Josh Kelly or what's being spoken about with Harley Reid, there was no trigger for the 8, 9, 10 years off the back. It's just a flat 2 years. So the Saints will be talking about this in 18 months' time. But the school of thought from these players and the player managers is that the cap should go up again because you've got Tassie entering the market. There'll be more fluidity in the market, potentially. So think about the offers that will come again for Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera. So should we just talk about those offers from the Crows and the Power?
Let's do it.
So the Power had a 10-year offer on the table for Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera. It was heavily front-ended, which speaks to the money they've got in their cap. So it was $5 million over the first 2 years. So 2.5 for each of the first 2 years. And then about an average of 1.4 for the 8 years after that. So it spits out about $1.6, $1.7 million over the life of a 10-year deal.
$2.5 million.
So this is a team that's also paying Butters next year, paying Rosie, paying Horne-Francis. That is some serious cap manoeuvring to be able to find $2.5 million in the cap at your footy club for Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera for 2026 and 2027. So we talk about shuffling money. The Power are going to have, well, they would have done some serious shuffling, but that leaves them with a $2.5 million hole that they can work around now for next year.
Do they get paid weekly or monthly?
I don't know. I think it's fortnightly.
Okay, that changes things a little bit. It's $96,153.85 per fortnight.
Before tax.
But we always say before tax with AFL players because they always find ways of shuffling the money around.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that good managers will place money into trusts and whatnot.
Okay.
So they pay tax later.
Right.
So what I'm saying to you is that if they're paid fortnightly, if Naz was did sign at Adelaide, it's $96,000 a fortnight. So
what you're saying is he could have found himself in a nice Glenelg sort of property if he had have gone to the Power. The Crows deal is similar ballpark, $1.6, $1.7 million over the life of the deal. I think it's a bit flatter than maybe what that Port.
So you said that was Adelaide. Now you're saying Port.
So that was Port.
2.5 over the first 2 years?
Yep.
Okay.
And the Crows was similar money, but he's decided to stay. So just looking at the Naz deal, I think the first offer from the Saints was in the ballpark of $1 million a season. And my understanding is a lot of the talk this year has been around, well, if Tom DeConey's getting 1.7, how is Naz going to feel? I think this dates back even earlier to the whole Finn Callaghan discussion that they were taking the same draft and heading into the 2025 season, you could argue that Naz had done as much, if not more, than Finn Callaghan. He put more runs on the board. He finished top 5 in the BNF last year. Finn Callaghan hadn't been that consistent of a player to this point. So whereas the money being bandied around for Finn Callaghan was at the $1.6, $1.7 million a season, Naz and his group are sitting back thinking, well, hang on, our player's done more than Callaghan. He's at the club. You're trying to keep him. So that, I think, played a role early. And then the TDK money came into it. And then Ben Williams confirmed on SEN this morning that after the Melbourne heroics, the offer increased again. So his match-winning effort against the D's, that final 90 seconds of the game, which may have well have tipped it over $2 million. Then a bit nuts and boltsy. So last week, Ben Williams was in town and Andrew Bassett caught wind that he was in town and moved heaven and earth to have a catch-up with Ben Williams in Bayside, Melbourne.
Where was the
on
catch-up?
the Thursday night? I don't know, but Ben Williams had been at the Half Moon in Brighton earlier in the day, and Andrew Bassett had caught wind of it and said, I need to sit down with this guy.
I mean, in fairness, Andrew Bassett probably owns the pub, so.
Probably.
They probably just found a private room.
So this is Thursday, late Thursday, and then Friday, the morning of the Essendon St Kilda game, Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera sits down with his manager, Ben Williams, over breakfast. Now, I tried to, we love to work out what was eaten.
Chili scramble.
Scones, Buddy Franklin style. I was told reliably that they only had coffees, no breakfast, unfortunately. What do you reckon Naz's coffee order is?
He'd be a double espresso guy.
Morning of the game?
I have no idea. I'm completely guessing. In fact, he could be one of those guys that actually just drinks tea. And just puts, don't you reckon?
So calm.
Yeah. He just doesn't need coffee.
So morning of the game, he sits down with his manager before he goes out and plays well again against the Saints and says, give me the weekend. I think Ben, his manager, knew that was heading in the Saints' way. Then over the weekend, he confirms that he wants to be at the Saints on a deal worth more than $4 million over 2 years. Goes in, tells Ross on Monday, and the rest is history.
Gets up on his shoulders. What a story. And what a story it ends up being for the Crows and Port who miss.
So what do the Power do? Because they've had $2.5 million, a gaping hole waiting for Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera in their cap for next year. They'll be able to move other money around to make sure that, the Butters deal and Rosie gets, I'm sure Rosie would have been putting money off these sort of guys for that sort of contract. But, does this make any notion of Butters leaving this year dead and buried now?
No, I don't think so.
They can't. There's no way they can lose Zach now, having not got Nasiah.
They won't want to, but he might try. They're probably in the most interesting place list-wise since they won their last flag in 2004, really. Since, Choco got up there and...
Are we getting into this? You've been...
Yeah, I want to have a little look at Port because I think that I can't absolutely work out where their list is at because I think their top end's really good. And I'm a big top-end guy as opposed to depth.
I'm aware of that.
So
you put... a lot more of your thinking. What's the 80-20 rule? You put 80% of your thinking in the top 20?
Was that what we said?
That's basically what you do.
Okay. Well, you've just created that stat. So at the end of last year, the ins and outs, so they bring in Lukosius, who I know has been injured. He only played 7 games. They bring in Richards, who's probably been a tick.
Yeah, he's been good.
Played 20 games, kicked 13 goals. They bring in Atkins, who was.
It was a way to get the Lukosius deal done.
It was a way to get the Lukosius deal done. He's only played 2 games. So Houston goes out, which they've been heavily criticised for. He was a good player at Port.
2-time All-Australian in the power colours.
He was a good player at Port. They trade out their first-round pick in that whole 3-way deal that ends up with Lukosius coming from Gold Coast, and they get back into the 2024 draft because the previous year they traded it as a future. So it allowed them to stay in the 2024 draft.
And they got Joe Berry, who a lot of clubs loved in last year's draft.
Yep. And they miss out on Perryman and Cumming, who they thought they'd get one, almost to add some depth back into that half-back line. So I just want to take you through their first game under Ken Hinkley's last year, basically under the Ken Hinkley-Josh Cart handover.
This is a team that come off a prelim last year, finished top 2, hosted a home qualifying final.
Came to the MCG and got beaten by 91 points by Collingwood.
Yep.
Round 1. This is their team from the back line. Jones, Aliir, Finlayson, Evans, Bergman, Farrell. On the wing, Mead, Drew, Burgoyne. Half forwards, Burn-Jones, Richards, Rioli. Full forwards, Lukosius, Georgiades, Pepper. On the board, Jordan Sweet, Rosie, Horn-Francis. On the bench, Wines, Sin, Boak and Berry. Ryan Burton is the sub.
So who are they missing? They're missing Butters.
No Butters. Yeah,
he's got the knee injury.
He's the main one, had the knee. It's not a bad team on paper. In fact, I would argue that it's a good team on paper. I don't think it's a great team on paper.
I don't think it's a great team on paper.
But their top end's pretty good. Like, Rosie and Horn-Francis are guns.
Yep.
Georgiades is a good player. Rioli is a good player. Burgoyne's a good player. Burn-Jones is a good player.
Bergman's a good player.
Bergman's fine. I don't think...
Miles has done something to you.
No, he hasn't. I just don't see it as much. And then you add Butters into that mix. So I just want to talk to you about their next few years. And I know you've been on this conceptually around the competition about what's happening with the academy rules, and we still don't have clarity. So they've got Doug Cochran, who has been likened to Marcus Bontempelli, and unless something goes very wrong, will go pick 1 in the 2026 draft.
Yep. So 12 months' time.
Next year.
Kicked 4 goals in his Sandford debut in the first half at senior level a few weeks ago.
Yep.
He's trying to get NGA eligibility to go to the Power.
Yeah, which is interesting, and I don't want to get bogged down in the absolute details of that. But his father has talked to the AFL about recently discovering Indigenous heritage.
Yep.
And so there's an application that's in front of the AFL at the moment as to whether that will allow Port Adelaide to take him in the academy. They've also got Lewis Salopek, who is the son of Stephen Salopek, of top 10 draft pick all those years ago. Look, the people that I spoke to in the last couple of days think that Salopek could go as high as pick 1 in the 2027 draft. They'd be surprised if he went any lower than pick 10. So they've got 2 top 10 draftees potentially, one as an academy, one as a father-son in the next 2 drafts after this one.
Sounds like the Dogs with Jamarra and Sam Darcy.
Well, I want to talk about Jamarra.
Tavita Roden as well, David Roden's son.
Yeah, and so they've also got in the Salopek draft, so 2 years from this one coming, they've got David Roden's son, Tavita, who's also part of the Essendon NGA, and they've got Zemez Pilot, who's a NGA prodigy, both of which they think will be first-round picks. So Port Adelaide are in an interesting stage with their list that's kind of neither here nor there, that depending on what happens with the rules, Mitch, it could really shape the next 10 to 15 years of this footy club.
We look at like Carlton with Cody Walker. They're going to get him in 12 months' time. That might be just before the rules change.
Well, will they? I'm not positive. I mean, the rules definitely going to change ahead of. So the heads of footy met with Greg Swan and Laura Kane over Zoom on Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
And it was made clear to the heads of footy that the rules will change ahead of the 2026 draft, but they don't know what the rule will be.
Yeah, but you're still going to be able to take father sons in the top 5 and 10.
Well, I think so.
I can't see that changing just
no,
yet.
nor can I, but I'd love some clarity before I start banking on it.
These clubs need to know yesterday.
Yeah.
List managers and recruiting staff are full-time people. They don't just rock up in August and start doing their work. These guys work all year round.
And so this is an extra element to the whole Tassie conversation, because I think, Mitch, let's just say Tassie didn't exist at the moment, or let's just say the AFL had said, we're going to put it on the back burner until 2030 because we want to get this thing absolutely right. I think there'd be less stress over things like this now because, as I said to you on the pod last week or the week before, at the moment it's the same rules for everyone. So you just got to keep ploughing ahead, until you get told something different. But teams towards the bottom end of the ladder over the next couple of years are going to be directly impacted by what happens with Tasmania more than clubs at the top end. So there's this stress around trying to rush Tassie in. We're 6 weeks away from being able to trade 2 years in advance,
and we still don't know.
And that's that second year, the 2027 draft, which is technically going to be 4 months before Tassie play their first game.
Yeah,
we don't know what the rules are going to be.
Exactly,
that's not acceptable.
Clubs thought they were getting them last 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I feel for Port. I think that they've really shot themselves in the foot with the coaching handover. I know we're getting a bit air raid sireny, but the coach does have a direct impact on recruiting. Zach Butters is extremely close with Ken Hinkley, who's about to coach his last game on Friday night against the Suns. And there's a lack of clarity as to where Port Adelaide's list is going. So I always maintain if Sam Mitchell's knocking on Zach Butters' door on Saturday, he'd have to listen. It's incumbent on him for his career to listen.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam. Hey, Zach, this is what we've got. This is where we want you to play. This is how many grand finals we think we'll play in the next 5 years. Come play for us. You go to Port. Well, where are we going the next? Let's, see how we go in Josh's first year as coach. Hasn't had a great handover. Yeah, that's true.
If you're Port, you're saying we've got Rosie, we've got Horn Francis, we've got some of the best talent at this footy club.
But they had them this year.
Yeah, but clubs have bad years. Like in terms of what you're saying in the future.
Clubs have bad years, but they don't
Collingwood won the flag after.
They don't bottom out quite like this though. They looked like an average SANFL team on the weekend against Carlton. They looked really poor.
Yep.
And I'm not used to seeing them look really poor.
Let's see how they go first 6 weeks next year.
Okay, so you're a hold on them
for now. But I've got questions on their depth.
Hey, speaking of coaches and being really close with players, Hinkley Butters style. There's a couple of big stories that I think are going to explode. It's going to be a big trade period. Our man Christian Petrarca up on the whiteboard, because I think Melbourne are once again, almost 12 months on, wasting time when they should be getting on with the business of deciding what to do with their list. And I think
wasting time as in the coach, the decision.
Yeah, I think Christian Petrarca is one of those guys who's sitting there being like, well, I probably want out now.
Yeah.
But if Nathan Buckley was confirmed as coach tomorrow, I think he'd flip. And I think Nathan would...
Just Bucks?
No, well, I don't want to speak on behalf of Christian, but I think if Bucks got in there and the first thing he'd probably do is call people like Christian Petrarca.
He's the first call, isn't he?
Well,
if you get
Nathan Buckley and Christian Petrarca strike me as two similar individuals in the way that they're driven and their levels of professionalism. Now, I don't know that to be true, but I'm just from the outside looking in. I don't know what happens with Oliver. I would suggest that Oliver will try to get out again.
he's going to have to take a pay cut to do that.
And that's fine. But so Melbourne come out and, there's a subcommittee and all great people. I don't know, me and Callahan, the PR expert, Joe Watson sounds like a great person. Frank Panisi's a great person. I just don't know why they need this subcommittee. They're going to take weeks. The more weeks that it takes, the more uncertainty there is with people like Petrarca and Oliver. I think Melbourne fans deserve better.
But do you use the 3 weeks you moved earlier on Goodwin for this?
Oh, no. I lost the whiteboard.
I just think...
Well, a little bit like his form, I have lost the Petrarca whiteboard marker.
Not comparing Nathan Buckley and Michael Voss, but if Collingwood had gone to their process after Buckley and just gone, we need to get the other guy out there and just gone and got Voss, they wouldn't have found McRae. You've got to go and do the process to see if you can find a McRae or a Kingsley, don't you?
I think you just pick the guy that you think is going to be coach and you decide and you move forward. I don't agree with the whole subcommittee stuff.
What if you don't know that yet?
Then find out. But you don't need the subcommittee. But you don't need the subcommittee to find out. You've got a board.
But committee. The Giants went through the process. I understand Kingsley.
That. Yeah,
the Pies went through the process. Luke Ball was part of that. So Joe Watson's basically playing the Luke Ball role.
Yeah.
They found McRae. That worked out pretty well. I agree the timing, get it done, but you've got to go and see what's out there.
Well, so then why contact Nathan Buckley so quickly after Goodwin? I mean, he's emerged as the front runner. Clearly, they want him. I just don't so Frank Panisi has been involved in one of the most successful sporting organisations in Australia the last 15 years in the Melbourne Storm. Right, for those who don't know, he's nicknamed the Godfather of the Storm.
Yeah, he's the. I was going to say Neil Baum. For footy fans, he's the Neil Baum
Jeff
equivalent.
Walsh. Yeah. He'll be amazing for that subcommittee. But at the end of the day, Mitch, whoever they pick, it's not going to be on him. Frank Panisi doesn't have any responsibility over whether they live or die by that.
No, that's true.
Or whether it succeeds or fails.
But he's there to probe. He's there to look into the, culture. What's he going to bring culturally? There's other things. He's not going to stand there and decide the coach.
Do they need a subcommittee to sack Simon Goodwin?
What do you mean?
So why do they need a subcommittee to find his replacement? If you've got
they had enough data and information around the Goodwin one.
So find enough data to find the next coach. I think they're wasting time, personally. And if we end up that in preliminary final week, we go through the process and they find Nathan Buckley anyway, and Petrarca's halfway out the door by then, I don't like it. I think Petrarca either stays or ends up somewhere like Hawthorn would be my guess. I just feel like Hawthorn end up with one of Butters or Petrarca. That's just the gut feel. Okay. If Reid doesn't come.
Okay. Speaking to D's, I'm going to add Judd McVie to the whiteboard. It's got to around 23 into 24 now, and he still hasn't signed. WA boy, taken as a rookie. I really like him as that halfback, dashing defender. I think he wants to meet the new coach and sit down with the future and decide before he...
Hang on. So now McVie wants to meet the new coach.
Well, he's out of contract. What? He wants to sit down with the new coach and see what his role is going to look like.
That's another reason they need to find the coach quickly.
I think he'd love to play a bit higher up the ground, halfback, show off his exploits rather than be seen as that lockdown defender.
Okay.
There's clearly interest in a player like McVie. He had a slow start of this year after the hamstring in the preseason, so that set him back a while. I think this year's been...
He'd be good at Freo.
Unless a year for him. Yeah.
He'd be good at Freo.
He'd be good. He'd be even more important at West Coast.
Yeah, but you'd be good at West Coast. But you couldn't go to West Coast. Couldn't.
What if they're paying you a good dose? No, I don't know that with Judd.
It's not about the money. It can't be about the money with you can't treat your career like that.
Sometimes,
You couldn't go to West Coast. Too scary.
Tom de Koning's jumping from...
Too nuclear.
Jumping one club for another for
Yeah, but you can't compare St Kilda to West Coast. St Kilda have Ross and Naz.
West Coast are one of the most powerful clubs in the competition.
They were. until they shot themselves in both feet and now they're struggling to walk.
This is a lull in the history of the Eagles. I'll acknowledge that.
Oh, really? Yeah. I tell you what was a lull in the history of the game is 21,000 people on Sunday turning up to see the Bulldogs beat West Coast by 1,000 points.
It's not on the West Coast fans.
Can you please find my Christian Petrarca magnet?
Yeah, it's gone at the back somewhere. So I'm adding McVee. Still a chance to stay at the D's, but wants to meet the new coach, wants to work through what his future looks like, and that's clearly going to take a month or two. And I'm also adding Liam Ryan to the whiteboard. Flying Ryan. Got a year to run on his contract at the Eagles. I think you're talking about Eagles needing, well, they're going to have pick 1.
Pick 2. I know it's going to upset you.
Jeez.
Oscar Allen, pick 2.
We're going to need an emergency podcast when they get that.
Lock it in.
Pick 2.
Lock it in.
And, I think there's an openness if Ryan was to net them an early pick that they could look at something there. So,
what would Liam Ryan be worth?
What do you reckon?
As a pick. How old is he?
It's a good question.
Liam Ryan would be 27?
28.
28. Thank you, Link. Liam Ryan's 28.
Geez, he'd be a handy third forward for a club, wouldn't he?
Wow, he's exactly what Carlton are looking for, really.
To go with
Motlop.
Kerno, Mackay.
Motlop, yeah.
Yeah.
He's perfect for Carlton. Like, Motlop would be able to learn his craft off him. Liam Ryan.
Could you get a top 20 pick in this year's draft for him? Contracted.
Well,
he's had hammy issues.
I'd need to look at his goals over the last few years because his best is very good.
Only played 20-plus games once in his career.
Yeah. Looking back at 2023, only played for 3 games.
Jeez, look at Link. He's never kicked more than 30 goals in a season. That's unbelievable. Score review. That can't be right. 158 games for 158 goals from 124 games. Oh, I'm less excited. Pick
It's on the eye watching him though. Like he brings a bit more than that, doesn't he?
pick in the late 20s.
Okay. Do you do that if you're West Coast?
Yes.
I'd be less inclined if it was a pick like that.
He's not going to help him though.
But he brings people through the gates. He's
true.
He's going to help them kick goals in some way. You lose Allen. Waterman's coming back from injury.
Yeah, that's true. You lose Allen as well.
Goals.
Yep. Yeah, it's a fair point. Yeah, maybe you're not coughing him up while he's contracted unless they get something like pick 21 or something.
Yeah. Can we just talk about the Saints? So Ross Lyon mentioned on Agenda Setters last night that nothing in list management was moving until the NAS decision has happened. So it's been held up a little bit to that point.
Sneaky mention for the agenda setters.
You get plenty of other mentions in.
Snuck it in there, didn't you?
What does this mean now for Windhager? Now that they've got NAS, I mentioned Marshall would have been paid good money already, but do they need that money off the books? Are they more open to doing Marshall? What do you think now spins off at the Saints? We've spoken about the power impact.
They've still told Marshall that they're really keen to keep him, despite the DeConing thing. And I know that they're working on stuff outside of footy for him when he finishes his career.
For Marshall?
Yep.
I think they could have brought him on the journey a little earlier around the whole TDK stuff.
Potentially.
Yeah.
The Windhager thing confuses me. Do they not rate him? Does Ross not rate him as much as others?
I don't think Marcus has felt the love.
That's interesting. He's a pretty good player, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he'd be great somewhere like the Giants. Who just, their top end's really good. They need a little bit more midfield depth.
Yeah.
It releases people like Callaghan and Tom Green a bit more.
Yeah. For what it's worth, the Giants and that Windhager was doing the rounds a bit. I've checked that out. The Giants aren't interested to this point.
Oh.
That I believe.
I said the Giants without knowing that had been around. Just seems like a good fit for someone like them. But I wouldn't be losing him if I was the Saints. He's a good bedrock in the midfield that you can kind of build around to get some outside speed for. He's also, from what I'm told about Marcus, he's a wonderful citizen and club.
Wonderful citizen. Plus he's young and you got inside mids like Steele and McRae who are going to tip over the other side at some point. Whereas Windhager is that inside mid that you can build around at the age that he is. So if he hasn't signed in next week, he might be going on the whiteboard.
Okay. Anyone else here?
I want to talk about Silvani on your whiteboard. All this talk about Houston and Collingwood and the links. Don't discount the Matt Kennedy factor at the Dogs.
Yeah, good friends.
So I reckon Matt Kennedy's loving what he clearly is at the Dogs, and he's
going to a team
footy.
that doesn't win to a team that suddenly starts winning is pretty good.
So we've all spoken about the Houston factor, Silvani and Houston, very, very close friends. Just keep an eye on the Matt Kennedy impact at the Dogs to see if... I don't think the Dogs are out of the Silvani race.
I don't think the Swans are out either.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Jack could be open to living in Sydney, which is fair enough because, as you know, Mitchell, it is the superior city.
And then just on the Crows side of the whole Wanganeen-Milera case, so they're into Archie. Do they increase that offer? As we mentioned last week, Archie and Wanganeen-Milera share the same manager, so he would have a fair awareness of everything that's going on there. And then, they're still into Draper, as you reported a few weeks ago. So do they say to Sam, hey, we've got an extra 75 grand just lying around now. Do you want to chuck that on your contract?
Just from a Draper perspective, Adelaide makes less sense than Brisbane,
Yeah.
playing-wise.
Yeah.
But if he's desperate to go home and live in Adelaide, the Crows make sense. Can
I just mention one other guy that
yes.
is going to be... We're getting in 12 months early here, but I think Tradies fans enjoy this sort of stuff. Zach Bailey is a restricted free agent next year.
Oh, boy.
What do you think he's going to command on the open market with the
Jeez.
footy that he's playing? Brisbane, we're talking about Allen. They're going to have to pay the Ashcrofts. Morris is coming off his draft contract. Rayner's on good money. McCluggage's on that long-term deal. Brisbane's salary cap is going to be a juggle. They're going to have to find room for Zach Bailey in the next 12 months, and that is going to be a challenge.
So Zach Bailey will be 26 at the end of next year, about to turn 27, born September 99. Sorry, September 99. So halfway
So
through
he's one of those rare free agents that signed a year beyond their free agency. So he was actually eligible for the first time as a free agent this year, but he was actually contracted. If that makes sense.
Yes.
So he's a 26-year-old this year.
He's kicked 33 goals this year so far. His last 5 years of goals, 31, 37, 29, 22, 33. That's pretty good going. Oh, he's going to have to be nearly $1 million, isn't he?
Nearly.
Do you think way over?
I'm thinking like 1.4, 1.5.
For Zach Bailey?
Yeah.
No.
You seen his last month?
Yeah, really good. But he's a half forward, Mitch.
I think there'd be clubs out there that could see him as a half forward that can go through the midfield.
He's kicked 3 goals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times this year. I wouldn't be. He's not. He's the type of guy that I think he requires a good system.
Okay.
Like I think if he was playing for Carlton or Essendon right now,
Yep.
he'd really struggle.
Okay. Yep.
That's not anything on his talent. I'm
Yep.
just saying he's
the cream player?
No, he's not. Yeah, he's an excellent footballer in a system that works, right? Because he's a good decision maker. He's got excellent skills, and he's a poacher in front of goal. He's a very good finisher. But if you were to say, let's just use Essendon as an example, Mitch. If you were to go and offer him 1.4 million, and he comes. We're going to talk about Michael Voss's comments in a moment. I'm not sure he's the difference maker.
Yep. That's fair.
But if he was to go from Brisbane to
Hawthorn. Imagine him at Hawthorn.
Hawthorn or Collingwood's form of 10 weeks ago, well, yeah, you pay him over $1 million, but he would probably have to take a little bit less to play in a good side because he'd be surrounded by a lot more players who are earning that sort of money. I'm not trying to say that he's not supremely talented. What I'm saying is because of the role that he plays, it would be unlikely that he ends up being a team's highest paid player or in the top, say, 3.
Yep.
Because he's not a midfielder that's getting 35 and he's not a forward that's kicking 6. He's the type of guy that's going to have 15, kicked 2 and be in your best couple.
Yep.
Hope I
He's had
explained
60
that
scoring shots this year from 21 games.
Yeah. Yeah, 33 goals, 28. How did he go in the grand final last year? I'm just trying to remember.
17 touches, no
Did he
goals.
kick a goal? Yeah, interesting.
Kicked that good one in the year before, though.
Yeah, against the Pies.
Kicked 19 and 2. Sorry, had 19 and kicked 2 goals, 2 in the prelim win over Geelong, which I'm sure Mitchell would remember as a Geelong man.
Yeah, that's why I'm pumping up his value.
Can we talk quickly about Jamarra?
Yeah.
and I'm not at all trying to make light of the situation because I think it's a very difficult one and in many ways sad. But we're talking about this purely through the prism of trade, right? So I just want to talk to you, Mitch, about how other clubs are viewing this, because clearly, and I don't want to go back and open up old wounds. We know it's been a really difficult year for Jamarra personally. We know it's been a really difficult year for the Western Bulldogs' relationship with him, as it would be for any employer who's got an employee who's not, for whatever reasons, living up to their expectations or standards. So Saturday night, 2:30 in the morning, he's leaving a nightclub, Love Machine. Not sure if it's somewhere you frequented before, Mitch. I haven't been there. It's just off Chapel Street. And as he's waiting for an Uber, a gun goes off. Someone was carrying a weapon. They were in the line. It went off accidentally. No one hurt, thank God. And police end up investigating, as you would imagine any gun goes off. They see him on CCTV. They speak to him on Monday. It was literally wrong place, wrong time. And they quickly clear him from the investigation and no case to answer. Now, the Western Bulldogs are aware that this has happened.
Were they aware before media were calling yesterday?
I couldn't tell you. That would be something the club that I couldn't answer on behalf of the club. But so this is a guy that has had his car stolen twice in the last 3 months, and on both occasions the car is used in crimes. So I'm not sitting here suggesting that Jamarra's done anything wrong at all. What I'm saying to you is that this is a guy that hasn't played a game this year in the AFL.
Hasn't been able to string together a 3-week training block since November.
Hasn't really been able to train consistently.
Yeah.
And by his own admission has been going through some dark times. And I really feel for him as a human being, as a young man trying to find his way. But here's where I think it becomes interesting from another club's perspective, because I think the view from people in the industry, and maybe from people like you and me, or certainly from me, has been for a long time that another club will pick him up.
Yep.
Because he's just too talented.
Yep. And he's young.
And he's young, so you can turn him. But I think the incident from the weekend, while he's done nothing wrong, is, well, what are you doing at 2:30 on a Saturday night when you're trying to get back to playing? Do you know what I mean? Now, he may have been in there drinking waters, doing absolutely nothing wrong and getting ready to go on a run at 8 o'clock the next morning. I don't know. Only Jamarra can speak to that. But it did remind me of a small clip from a movie. Now, this is, I've talked a lot about No Country for Old Men.
Yep.
The guy who wrote the book, Cormac McCarthy, the late Cormac McCarthy, it was such a big success, No Country for Old Men, that he wanted to write his own screenplay. And it was built up as an epic movie. It had Brad Pitt, Michael Fassbender, Penelope Cruz, Cameron Diaz, Javier Bardem. It was a star-studded cast, and it was an absolute bomb of a movie. It was terrible. But Brad Pitt said this in the movie.
They don't believe in coincidences. They've heard of them. They've just never seen one.
They don't believe in coincidences. They've heard of them. They've just never seen one. He was talking about the cartel's perspective of a drug deal that went wrong and their loot got stolen.
How do you remember all these movie quotes?
I don't know. My brain is weird. And it just, I think, and again, not to make light of it, but we always look at things in a lighthearted way through tradies. I think clubs are probably at a point now with Jamarra, whether it's right or wrong, that they're thinking, well, yeah, I believe him on face value, but is this a risk that we're now willing to take? Are there all of these things are coincidences? And so we get to the point now where, and I thought this would have been 50-1 at the start of the year. I think it's probably more like now 10-1, where maybe at the end of the trade period, no one comes with anything because they have to give something to get him because he's contracted. So they can't pick him up as a delisted free agent.
Well, they might be able to.
Well, so that's where we get to my next point was if the relationship with the Dogs and Jamarra is in fact done.
It's done.
Okay.
In my view.
Okay, I'll take you at face value there. If that is the case,
as long as Luke Beveridge is there,
then will they have to negotiate a financial settlement and essentially pay him not to play? It's a fascinating one.
Yep.
And It's really sad.
And do they have to pay him? What parts of it, is he breaching his contract? These are all the questions they'll ask him to the year.
Damo made that point on Classified last night.
Oh, Classified mentioned.
Yeah, well, I had to get one in there. Yeah, man. I think that's interesting, and this is where his management in Paul Connors and Robbie D'Orazio will probably have a say in this. Will they have to? He's contracted for next year, but has he lived up to his contract this year, in which he's been paid full? So interesting.
Yeah. 6 weeks ago, we were talking club. Someone will take him. There'll be someone out there. Clubs can always turn them around. I'm starting to lose faith in that now.
Yeah, I am as well.
It's just people you talk to. I think there'd been clubs open to talking to him, and it's just like, no, Jamarra needs to get into the right space. He's not ready to talk yet. We're now in August. These things are just taking too long.
It's funny how your perspectives change, Mitch. Like 5 years ago, me in my late 20s, or maybe slightly longer ago, my whole view on this stuff is you sign up for the big deals, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Like, bad luck. I'm much more empathetic now. Like, this is a guy who's clearly trying to find his way in life. We're not all born the same. We're not all brought up the same. We don't all have the same perspective. Like, I have no idea what's going on in Jamarra's life. No idea. None of us really do. And yet, at the same time, he's trying to live up to be this person that a lot of other people want him to be.
Yep.
A professional footballer that is diligent at training and with his food and with his diet. And it would be a lot of pressure. You add into that the social media stuff. You got people writing about which girl he's seeing, people writing about which event he's going to. It wouldn't be easy. I really empathise with whatever he's going through.
Yep.
But in the end, he's a name on a whiteboard. He's a magnet. And he's either performing or he's not. It's brutal. It's ruthless.
Yep. And the Dogs are moving on.
Yep. Anyway, I just wanted to quickly talk about Jamarra in that way. Hey, speaking of key forwards, quick one on Harry Mackay while we're running hot. Did you hear Vossi on the weekend? Did you hear Michael Voss speak about Harry Mackay?
Yes.
Yeah. So Patrick Cripps at halftime on Fox made an effort to talk about him.
That's all right.
Like, wasn't asked about
the question
him.
was about Walsh, and then he said the guy really bringing the heat today is Harry Mackay.
Right, so you noticed that too. That's interesting. And then afterwards, Michael Voss said this.
He's been in solid patches of form, but he's a difference maker for us. Your best players have got to be, and and that's at the moment I think we're seeing a really good version of Harry, and I think if I look across the whole team, the selfless nature in which we're playing,
the difference maker. Is that a term that has come across your desk much?
In footy or just in life?
In general. Ever heard someone refer to as the difference maker? Really?
I never heard Voss call Harry Mackay the difference maker.
But you've heard other people refer to...
Yeah. What are you getting at here?
Well, I've only heard difference maker once, and that was on Billions from Bobby Axelrod.
Both the ones I got in my head and the ones I'm paying you for.
I just don't see what the difference maker is.
I'm the difference maker.
That's the only time I'd heard that on a TV show. I'd never heard anyone
Vossi's a big fan.
actually in real life called someone the difference maker. Do people call you the difference maker on this pod?
Sometimes, yeah. Depends which side of the West Gate I'm on.
Yeah, that's fair. Anyway,
Is Harry there next? Like, what do you...
I think he's there. Not absolutely certain. Feels like they go into next year with him and Kerno. Also, it was pointed out to me on Saturday that maybe I went a little bit too early taking Walsh off the A-grade list, given how he played on the weekend.
Yeah, but he's been out for 10 weeks.
Oh yeah, I need to see it consistently. But he's down the bottom. He's not actually. I haven't thrown him off.
Okay, he's just loitering.
Speaking of,
here we go.
I was watching the Sydney Geelong game on Sunday. How did the number 5 for the Swans go?
Not as well as he's gone in the last month.
I see.
You're allowed a flat one every now and again. Not everyone on your A-grade list
The
is
real A
in their
grade
top 5 players every week.
They don't have many flat ones.
Well, Isaac's had a pretty good month.
Marcus Bontempelli doesn't have too many flat ones.
There's one or two this year.
Toby Green doesn't have too many flat ones. Noah
Yes, he
Anderson
does.
doesn't have too many flat ones.
Toby Green has quiet games.
Not that often.
Henny was allowed one. Tradies teas.
Okay, Tradies Teas time. We're here for the great people of Lexus of Blackburn.
Any other functions this week? Or are you just
the
keeping those on the down low?
NH250 this morning with the heated seats. Whew, it was needed. It was needed. The question that I asked today, which player who's on the move is already having his mail redirected to a different postcode ahead of said proposed move?
Oh, is he on either whiteboard?
I think you'd find him probably if you had a little look on the whiteboard.
Okay. So he's moving properties.
My mail from my mailman is that his mail has been his mail's been redirected.
Okay.
Anything to leave us with, Mitchell? I think brewery for me Thursday,
Okay.
and then definitely not go to the G. And Saturday, a little bit of recon work for me. Might go watch the other final ahead of the granny.
Oh. Got your
Old
notebook out
Trinity and St Kevin's.
to see if the bloke that you clamped down the weekend for Trinity gets a kick this week. So is it the top 5 system?
Top 4.
Right.
So
you-
1v2 and then one winner straight to the granny.
Yeah.
And then loser of 1v2 plays the
Was it
winner of
only a 16
3v4.
comp or something?
No, it's 8, I think. Why are you trying to ruin this for me?
No, not ruining.
Yeah, I think I'll go I think I'll sneak in clandestine style with a note.
So you're not going to go with a yellow or pink beanie?
No, it'll be a dark beanie, I would think.
Okay.
And a notepad. And I'll sit in the bleachers. I might even take some binoculars.
Wow.
Do you own a pair of binoculars?
Somewhere at home.
You don't use it?
Nah. There's been a few stakeouts where I'm like, I could do with a pair of these.
Yeah. When you have a pair of binoculars, it's like an umbrella. It's like you suddenly find a way to use it.
Yeah.
I'm going to take out my binoculars. That's what I'm going to do. In fact, I'll take a photo and we'll put it on Tradies. Link and put it on Tradies Instagram. I'm sure people will be very excited. What a flat way to finish the pod. That does us for season 3, episode 25, brought to you by the great people at St Andrews Brewery. Hey, come along if you're an Essendon supporter or a Carlton supporter. I'm going to come on Thursday. Are there dogs allowed outside? I might drink Diva. I don't think there are.
Okay. Hey, we need the Mark Keane nuts and bolts next week. You've been promising this ever since you stood him up at.
I told the story.
Yeah, we want the full nuts and bolts because he's having a great year.
Oh, of his career, not of the nuts and bolts of our relationship.
I understand it just landed in the crow's lap and it's been one of the great moves.
Has been. All right, Mark Kane, nuts and bolts next week, I promise. We'll see you then.